Hi, everybody. Welcome to another very late edition of Yellow Ropes Forever, the NXT Rundown. My name is Sondra, and I am, again, it seems like a theme, apologizing for the lateness of this episode. I know that it's going up after this current week's NXT has already aired, so I apologize for that. I haven't actually watched this current week's NXT yet, so that's a thing. Like, I haven't seen everything that's going to happen, but I don't know. At least I'm not skipping another week. That's a good thing, and I really, really wanted to talk about this past week's episode. I just couldn't find both the time and a person to record with that would happen at the same time, if that makes sense. I don't know. I feel like I'm making excuses. Whatever. But like last week, I am joined by William Studd because he was gracious enough to learn how to sign into Skype and record with me tonight.
Yes, signing into Skype was an adventure, and now that it's been done once, though, it shouldn't be an adventure again.
It shouldn't be. Yeah, William is being very gracious and using his PC that he hates so that I can explain to him what's going on, as opposed to the Mac that I can't use because I have no idea how Macs work. And that's a
I
little
love
insight into our lives.
I love my Mac. My PC's great for gaming, but other than that, my Mac's where it's at.
Your PC's also great for everything I need to do on it. Anyway, we opened NXT last week with a video package of Apollo Crews saying that he's like ready for the title match that's going to happen later tonight, and it kind of built it up, and it showed him winning the number one contendership, and that was all well and good, and it was cool. And then we got the opening title theme, and then we went into Asuka. Asuka entered, and she looked amazing, right? You agreed with me, actually.
What did I agree with? Oh, that she looked good. Oh, yes, I did.
You did. You
I
did.
did. The her entrance looked better. She looked more comfortable. Um, and I know you probably want to mention the other thing with the mask, so why don't you mention that?
Okay. Well, I was gonna say, because you agreed with me that her biting her mask and like looking all badass, and she in her entrance before, she's always had the mask over her face, and then she takes it down, and then she like smiles and looks like she owns the world and is like, look, I'm Asuka, I'm a badass, I'm fucking awesome, right? But
Oh,
this
you
week,
say so.
yeah, I do say so. Absolutely, I say so. And
All right
then
then.
this week, she kind of took the mask off and she worked to the camera super well. And she kind of like bit the mask a little bit and was like, hey, look, I have personality, bitch. And she did. And it was so good. And I loved it. And I believe I said to you, because I actually have our Facebook conversation in front of me, I was like, biting the mask is so cool. Ah, and you were like, biting the mask was cool. I liked it. Seems like she's getting more comfortable with where she is. So you agreed with me. Haha.
I did. I did. And I agreed again after watching it again tonight. Um, I did like biting the mask. You know why? One of the reasons is she didn't freaking smile right afterwards. She didn't lose herself into the, hey, all I can do is smile because I don't know words or don't know how to do things and stuff. And that's what we're getting from too many people in NXT at the moment. So the fact that she has gone away from just the smile to I have personality and I am a thing, not just, the then now I'm appreciative of that.
And I'm glad of that. Like, I'm curious, actually, and I haven't really discussed this with you. Would you be so against Asuka smiling the way that she has been doing? Because I maintain that her smiling has been more like, no, I'm smiling because I know I'm gonna fucking kill you. And I'm smiling because the thought of fucking killing you makes me so, so happy. That's what I see behind her smile. Would you be so annoyed with her smile if Apollo Crews and Nia Jax also weren't just smiling all the time? Or would you be annoyed just because you hate smiles in general?
Well, that's a tough one to give an honest answer to because Nia Jax and Apollo Crews have spoiled me, ruined me for smiles because that's all they do. I'm sorry that you have no personality. I'm sorry that all you know how to do is smile. But how about you learn how to do something else and stop cracking my screen with your horrible, horrible smile. Um,
I mean, I'd say Apollo Crews got a little better tonight, but I know what you mean.
um,
I said a little.
we'll go with that. So
Yeah.
at least we didn't have to see Nia Jax and her horrible excuse for herself.
That is
So
positive.
anyway,
But I mean, I would
I
say with
tried
Asuka,
to
I've always
focus.
seen personality behind it because, and especially because she kind of, like, from the time she came in, she's been involved in this thing with Emma and Dana Brooke, and we'll hear from them later. But I feel like with Asuka, we've always seen her kind of smiling for a reason, and it doesn't seem like just a smile like, hey, I'm happy to be here. It's more smiling at the thought of the destruction that she's going to unleash upon her poor, poor victims. Like Cameron, for instance. Cameron, who makes her televised return here for the first time, I believe, since like April or something. Cameron's back. And
She could
that's,
have just stayed away. I'm sorry.
yeah,
I'm sorry. She could have
I
just stayed
know.
away.
The weird thing here, and she's been on Total Divas a couple times, but only in the background. She wasn't a featured character this past season. Um, she was only basically there if Eva Marie needed someone to bitch to. More
Yeah,
on
that's
Eva Marie later. But weirdly in this match, okay, and this is mostly down to Asuka, right? Because Asuka was fantastic. This is one of my favorite things that I've seen Asuka do. Like, other than the murder of Dana Brooke. And I know we haven't seen her do all that much, but every time I see her, I like her more. Because I feel like she's
right.
working on things more, like biting the mask and looking like, hey, I'm really badass. I think she's getting her character more and more every time we see her, even though tapings, like multiple matches are happening in one night, but I feel like she's progressing even match to match within the same night, and I think that means something. So,
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like if it's the same
Yeah.
night, you wouldn't expect her to be all that improved or trying something different than she did like an hour ago, right? But I feel like she is. I don't know. I feel like I'm seeing improvement still, even throughout the same taping, which I think is great. And I have to give props to Cameron though. I really do. Maybe it's just my renewed like the tag team tournament is over and I realized I actually like NXT again thing. But Cameron came out and I was like, "Oh my goodness, it's Cameron. I totally forgot that I had read that she was on this taping and this is a surprise, right?" Like I think I said that to you. I was like, "I didn't know that she was going to be on this. Oh, that's hilarious. This is so funny." And I have to say, I liked her purple hair. I realized that a lot of women are dyeing their hair to match their outfits nowadays, but it kind of works for me and I kind of love it every time. So go you. I also saw improvement from Cameron. I did. She's not great, but
No, she's not great
she's not
by any
great.
means.
She's not great at all. She's bad, right? But
Yes, she's very bad.
the thing is, Cameron is instantly unlikable. She is instantly hateable. From the time her music comes up, before you even see her, you're like, oh, fuck her. No. No, Cameron. No. Just like you are with Eva Marie. And I think part of the benefit to Cameron here, and this was, when I was watching Cameron the first time, I said some of these things to you. So it's not just the comparison, but it was even more clear to me tonight because I'd seen Eva Marie already with Cameron and Eva on the same show, I think it leads to an interesting discussion because Cameron is terrible in the ring and Eva is
Yes.
terrible in the ring. And neither of them are
Yes.
there, or at least neither of them were hired because they want to be wrestlers, right?
Right.
And they both say that they have a passion for this business, this
No, they don't.
business in
They have a
capitals and quotation marks because everyone says this business.
they have a passion for a paycheck.
Yes,
Period.
yes, and fame and all of those things.
Yeah.
But I feel
Yes.
like I see, and Cameron's been doing this a lot longer because I remember seeing Cameron in FCW. I didn't know
Which
enough
is
about.
really sad that she's horrible. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Which is really sad that she's horrible when she's been here since Florida Championship, and that's been how many years, and she still sucks at life. I mean, damn.
Yeah, it's been a while. Um,
Yes.
the thing with Cameron too, if you see her on, and I know that Total Divas is a scripted reality, but this is the story that they're telling with Cameron. And again, she wasn't a featured character this past season, so it's been a little while since they've told this whole, like, she wants to become a better wrestler story thing. Just, yeah, just laugh. It's fine.
It's, it is what it
It
is.
is what it is. But with Cameron, for a little while on Total Divas, and I believe that maybe part of this is true. Like, and if it's not true, like, she's working it really well because she's been doing interviews like this since they did it on Total Divas too. She said, I was brought in and I was in FCW, but she wasn't in FCW very long before she was called on the road to be a Funkadactyl with Brodus Clay. And,
Anyways, please continue.
admittedly, that doesn't leave a lot of time for training and going to wrestling class and learning how to do wrestling, right? So,
Yes, I will agree with you there.
because she's too busy learning how to be a cheerleader with Naomi, who also still can't wrestle. I'm sorry, but that's a
No,
true thing.
sh-
She can wrestle better than Cameron, but
that's not saying much.
no, it's not. Um, but she didn't train very long. And the fact that she has gone back to NXT, and I know she's been actually training at the Performance Center, and I think that this match actually was kind of a testament to Our Lady and Savior Sarah Del Rey in a lot of ways. And again, I don't know if it's just my renewed love for NXT, but I was kind of impressed by Cameron's progress here. And a lot of it was little stuff. A lot of it was very little stuff. Like her knowing how to roll to counter an armbar that Asuka had on her. Or at least looked like she was countering an armbar, because it's not actually like a regular, but whatever. Um, it looked like, oh, Asuka has my arm this way and I will roll, and then maybe it won't be that way anymore, and then I can do something else, right? Like Cameron 6 months ago would not have known how to do that roll. That's progress. Um, her doing splits into a leg drop, like you said tonight, was shite. It was. I don't think you said shite. I think you
I
said it
did,
was bad.
but
But
it was horrible. It
yeah,
was terrible.
it was. But they're trying to figure out things that Cameron can do and work with them. Like one of Cameron's things has always been the splits, right? Because as a Funkadactyl, their whole thing was like, hey, I'm going to do splits onto you. And that was kind of their finisher. And so they're trying to incorporate it in different ways. Like, I think at one point they had her do splits and like kick Asuka also or something.
I don't remember.
I think that might have been a thing. I don't know. But
I don't. Maybe I wasn't there.
regardless, they're trying to figure out Cameron's strengths, what little they might be. Um, that's not entirely fair. That's really mean. I think that Cameron has strengths. I think that Cameron could basically be what they want Eva Marie to be, right? Like they want Eva Marie, well, no, I think they want Eva Marie to be a babyface, which is super confusing. But with Cameron, they want her to basically be the Miz of the women's division. And I'm totally okay with that because I love the Miz. I
Oh
love him
God, I
so
hate
much.
them.
I know that you hate the Miz, right? But you're supposed to hate the Miz. And you're supposed to hate the Miz on all of the levels. So the levels that you hate the Miz are like he can't wrestle, right?
The levels that I hate the Miz is he's there because he was a wrestling fan and made it on TV and made it known on TV that he was a wrestling fan. That's why the Miz is there.
And he's so hateable for that, right?
Yeah, and other reasons because his face maybe, and
And you totally never want him to win, right?
I never want him to even step in the ring again. So yes, never want him to win is a good. It would
So
be a
when
thing.
anyone's in the ring with the Miz, you just want them to kick his ass.
Pretty much.
Right. So he's like one of the most effective heels in WWE then.
No, because I like heels, and I hate the Miz.
Yeah, but doesn't that make him even more effective in some ways?
Not in my eyes. In my eyes, that makes him a waste of space. Because I can like a heel and hate him at the same time. With the Miz, I just hate him. I was watching an old match with him and John Cena, and
Well, his older stuff is not as good.
uh, uh,
I mean, I don't know. Ever since he came back as the multimedia cross-platform whatever star when he interrupted Bray Wyatt, Or when Bray Wyatt interrupted him, and then Chris Jericho interrupted Bray Wyatt, and then everything was awesome, and then the Chris Jericho versus Bray Wyatt thing actually happened, and it wasn't nearly as awesome, but that night was awesome. I've loved The Miz. I've loved him so completely, and I think Cameron could be that. I think that she could be the super annoying, like, everyone wants her to go away, no one wants to see her, everyone hates her. They could put her in all sorts of interview situations. They could put her on TV because she is well spoken. She's completely full of shit and disingenuous, but she is well spoken. And she at least pretends to have a passion for this business. And I don't know, I just see her as very similar to The Miz in a lot of ways. And I think it's kind of a good thing. And it's weird because I don't know what's happening in my brain, but I'm kind of like, yeah, Cameron might be able to work? I don't know. And again, maybe it's the comparison to Eva because like even when Cameron appeared on the screen, I saw she was entering the ring with presence and she was entering the ring with personality. That's something Eva pretends to do. Eva is still acting like a wrestler or acting like she is a wrestling character. Cameron is a wrestling character, whether you like it or not, she is. She's a super hateable one, and you want her, to get kicked to death by Asuka, which is what happens. But Cameron's a wrestling character, and I super hate her, but I kind of super like her because of that. I mean, she's singing her own entrance theme and saying, like, she's super fly. Like, and she sings her own entrance theme. How ridiculous is that? Tyler does too. Um, I don't know. I kind of softened toward Cameron a little bit in this match. But to mention Asuka, every time I see her wrestle, she reaches another level of awesome to me. And I think we finally found someone in matches who can mock people as well as Sasha Banks, which is difficult to do. Because Asuka's sitting there and she mocks Cameron's entrance. She does the little like butt shake, rise up thing, which is awesome on its own, right? Like she's kind of mocking all of Cameron's signature movements, which aren't many. It's mostly like, hey, I will put my ass out there. Um, but at one point in the match, Asuka does the rear view. Asuka does Naomi's finishing move, and I use that term very loosely, but Asuka is mocking
Yeah,
Cameron's
but
former partner, who she knows is probably friends with Cameron again because they're both heels, and in WWE, all the heels are friends and all the baby faces are best friends. So she knows that they're probably tight again. But Asuka is not only referencing history of the Funkadactyls, she is mocking Cameron at the same time, and it's just so many levels of mockery, and I love it so much. I don't know. It made me really, really happy. And I know that's weird. It's weird for me to be talking this much about Asuka versus Cameron, right? But I kind of loved everything about this.
well, I see you. I appreciate your argument as far as why Cameron should be a thing, but here's my argument as to why she shouldn't be a thing. Her and Eva Marie and a select few others. Let's take the people who we hate because we hate them and actually get rid of them and put someone in that spot that we can hate but still love to hate them. Because I don't love to hate them, I just hate them. Give me someone that I can love to hate. Give me a heel that is good and actually good at being a heel and that makes me hate them but makes me love them at the same time. Put them in that spot and they would actually be worthy of that spot instead of someone who, well, this girl has everyone hate her, so I guess we can just shove her ass on TV. And with Cameron, it is shoving her ass on TV. So,
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, and her ass is a big part of her entrance and everything. And I totally understand that. Um, Part of it is me wanting to be positive, and part of it is
yeah,
me comparing her to Eva Marie later in the show.
right.
And part of it is actually seeing enough improvement that I think she could be a decent thing with enough training. Because I know how bad some of the other wrestlers have been when they've even debuted on NXT TV with, some training. Like when they've been in NXT for a while, but they haven't been on TV. And maybe if Cameron has decided that this is what she wants to do, maybe she could get decent. Because we see Carmella improving, and we see Alexa Bliss improving, and we see a lot of women improving. We'll see Gionna Daddio lead a match later in this show, even though she's never been on TV before. And I
Well,
don't
she kind
know.
of had to leave the match. She didn't really have a choice.
Yeah, that's real true. She's
You
working
get
with,
thrown in there, and suddenly you're the veteran.
yeah.
That's not good.
And I don't know if she's been there any longer, but yeah.
She's improved much more than.
Yeah, that's real true. But I don't know. I guess I'm willing to give her the benefit of the doubt, which might not be a popular opinion, and I realize that. And I think that's why I'm harping on it a little bit, just because I don't know. Sometimes I like to be controversial, but also I like to give people a chance to improve if they're improving. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later too, with someone that you might not expect. Um, but obviously, Asuka wins the match. Obviously, she wins it with her cool chicken wing crossbody finisher thing. Cameron has to tap. It's delightful. I love it. Asuka mocks her, and it's glorious. Basically,
We didn't reference that Asuka grabbed the wrong arm at one point.
did it happen again?
Yes.
Oh,
The very first spot when Cameron slapped her, which I guess this was probably because of the slap, but Cameron went to slap her and Asuka grabbed and rolled through with the armbar, and it was the right arm in the armbar.
I meant to mention that for a completely different reason.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I meant to mention it because I think that, see, I was looking at one set of Facebook conversations and not the other. Because her slap into the armbar thing was just so beautiful, right? Like, I loved it. And you know that I loved
It
it because
was.
I went on about it. And I thought it was really, really cool. Like,
I enjoyed it. It
yeah.
was very well executed.
Like, Cameron was about to slap her,
It was
and
very
Asuka was like,
smooth.
no, fuck you, bitch. I will grab your arm that you're trying to slap me with, and I will counter it into an armbar. And Cameron immediately got to the ropes and looked like she was struggling. And again, good for Cameron. She looked like she was struggling and got to the ropes. But no, I didn't even notice that because we didn't even talk about that she grabbed her right arm again. And in Japan, they went to
Yeah,
the right arm and not the left.
yeah. All of a sudden, I'm sitting here thinking, maybe I shouldn't have said that, but
No,
that's
no,
okay.
no, it's fine. It's fine to point out. It's interesting. No, it's just funny because I was talking to Steve Decker on Facebook about the match, and he was like, or Asuka countered that slap into the armbar like, as quick as Ronda Rousey would have. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, she did. And it was great, and I loved it. And so I wanted to mention that because I told him that I would. So I am glad that you brought it up, actually.
All right then.
Yeah. But no, I think it's interesting to mention. I mean, Asuka is still learning to adapt to the, American style or the WWE style or whatever. And I know that it's different and I know it's going to take time, which is a thing to consider. And I'm just glad that it means we get her in NXT for a little while, probably, because we get her in NXT for a little while, probably. And that's really, really awesome because I get to still gush over her every single time.
Right.
So yeah, I'm excited about that. But commentary after the match throws us to footage of the mechanics beating up Enzo and Cass pretty definitively, especially attacking Cass's knee. And then Tom Phillips is backstage and asks Carmella about Cass's injury because Enzo Amore apparently is not available, um,
Which is funny.
which is funny.
Which
And
is
I mean,
funny.
I'm fine with it. I like Carmella being able to kind of be a representative of this and whatnot because it gives Carmella speaking time, and I think she's really, really good at that too. But I don't know. It made me laugh because it was like, well, you didn't really murder Enzo so much. Like he was just kind of napping on the ramp, but okay, that's fine. You hit them both real hard. So Carmella is being asked about Cass's injury, and Carmella says that Cass has a sprained MCL, so he's going to be out for a little while. And Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder come in and interrupt her. And Scott Dawson says, we reserved a couple beds for those couple of G's, as you like to call them. And then I think Dash Wilder at one point's like, you know what, Carm, and
Yeah.
is talking to her about that and whatever. And she calls them George Costanza and Danny DeVito, and says the only thing, and I don't know, one of them, I don't remember which one, says the only thing we're sorry about is we didn't do it sooner. And then after Carmella kind of walks off and dismisses them or whatever, they say that, yeah, we laid out Enzo and Cass and that was great or whatever, but next week we get our opportunity at the Tag Team Champions. And one of them says, like, you will refer to us as the absolute best tag team on the planet. Bada boom, baddest guys in the room. And you can't teach that. I know Dash Wilder at some point said you can't teach that. I think after, like, we beat up a Cass or whatever. But my favorite part of this is that they have a wheelchair with them that they wheel in at this point. And they bump into Tom Phillips, and Dash Wilder's like, sorry, Tom. And I just like that detail because it was like, oh, look, I bumped into you, and I'm going to acknowledge that instead of following my really, really obvious script. But also, the wheelchair, it has taped to it a paper, and it just says vaudevillain. Not vaudevillains, not Aiden English, not Simon Gotch. Vaudevillain. Just one.
I did not catch that. They
Yeah,
would have had just the one.
just one.
Hmm.
Because only one person can fit in a wheelchair, I assume. So, it makes
Makes
perfect
sense.
sense. And also, I love the mechanics. And also, we'll see what happens next week, because I totally don't know what happened because I didn't have it spoiled for me on the internet weeks ago. So,
Right?
there is that. But yes, I liked the fact that the wheelchair only said vaudevillain. It made me laugh. We also had Jason Jordan and Chad Gable backstage. Now, before I gush about this, what did you think about their interview segment?
It was okay. They're getting better at things and saying words.
Progress.
Yes. It certainly was not my favorite part of the evening, but it wasn't bad.
It wasn't your least favorite part of the evening.
No.
That's progress, I think.
I would say, yeah, my least favorite part had to either be probably Cameron or something that happens later.
Okay, if Eva's not your least favorite over Cameron, I don't know what's your deal. Um, Eva was way worse than Cameron, objectively. But, well, she was! She was so bad, and Cameron actually did okay stuff. But, but yeah, Jason Jordan and Chad Gable backstage. Not a surprise to anyone who's listened to this show before. I loved this. Loved it so much. They're having a very serious conversation backstage, right? Like,
Yes.
a lot of people are talking about takeover respect, and Chad Gable, or no, Jason Jordan feels like they still need to earn their respect, right? Like they need people to earn respect for them because they're not the tag team champions yet. And Chad's like, no, we're still going this way. Like, which way am I pointing? And he's pointing up. He's making like an up motion. And Jason Jordan's like, yeah, you're pointing up, whatever. And so Chad Gable's like, yeah, soon they're going to say, look, it's the world's greatest tag. And Jason Jordan interrupts and goes, no, don't say that. We talked about that. Like, you can't say that. And Chad Gable's like, right. Oh, we did talk about oh, my bad. That was my bad. And Jason's like, yeah, that was your bad. They made a world's greatest tag team reference. William Studd, how can you not love that?
How can I not love that? Well, they're not the world's greatest tag team. That was somebody
Well,
else.
that's the thing. Jason Jordan said, no, you can't say that. You can't call us that because that was somebody else. And they were like, oh, right. We acknowledge that fact. I'm just saying. You disagreed with their point, sir.
I I didn't say I disliked it. Um, as if I'm not mistaken, what I said to you when you pointed that out earlier this evening was I dug it or I dig it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I'm just making you say it out loud.
yeah, I know. I'm gonna get you for that later. You
Well,
wait.
it's a podcast. That's how this works.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna get you later when it's not on the podcast. That's how that works. So, um, I didn't hate that. Um, and I did say this to you before that I am liking them a little bit more. They have earned my respect more they've earned my respect more with each match that I see them in. Um, and it's just like Tyler Breeze has earned my respect more with each match that I see him in and see him doing things that, the average, and I'm not trying to be this, oh, I'm holier than thou or anything like that, but the average fan may not quite catch because they're not, a wrestler who's trained to see things a certain way.
Right.
Um, but I see them and I see Tyler doing these things, and I'm like, you know what? That takes skill. that takes experience, and that takes someone who actually genuinely knows what they're doing to do what those guys just did. And I appreciated that. Um, Last match we saw Jordan and Gable in, um, I really appreciated their wrestling more. They looked like they were having fun more with it, and or excuse me, having more fun with it, and that makes a big difference. And I know we mentioned that on the last podcast that we did, but just referencing that it makes a big difference when you can see that the wrestlers are having fun,
It does make a
and
difference.
it when you're having fun. You're gonna DM me so big, I told you so later. When you're having fun, your performance gets better.
Yes, it does.
It genuinely does. I know, kid. But to be fair, um, I didn't hate the segment. Um, I still think that talking is the thing that those guys need to work on the most. Um, their in-ring skills are obvious. Um, they need to get more comfortable with doing in-ring things, and then their in-ring skills will become more obvious. But talking is something that those guys need to work on, which is why they had a little segment today. And I am glad to see that because I know how fond of them you
I
are.
love them
And
completely.
yeah, you say that, and now I'm starting to feel bad. But
It's okay. You know how much I hate your favorite wrestlers. So
this is true.
just
We're
think
gonna have to
about
talk
that
about
every single time that you're saying mean things about some of my favorites. For the record, everyone, his favorite wrestler is The Undertaker. And if you've heard me talk on any of the main shows, you'll know that that is a point of contention. And it's amazing that we're still friends. Okay, go on.
it. So anyway, yeah, I didn't hate it. I was glad to see that they got a little segment, and I genuinely hope that they can get their talking um smoother, better, be more comfortable with it. I know from personal experience, it is not easy, but once you get it, it just flows, and it's just kind of like, oh, this is what I was struggling with. Oh, well, let's change that then.
Right, like now I
Um,
just have to say words about stuff.
right. And what they're doing is it will be harder to talk about things than, like for example, what I'm doing
Well, you
because
just hate the world.
I can be the most obnoxious, evil, hateful person ever, and it gets over because it
Well, that's
does.
what you do right now. You are the most obnoxious, hateable person ever.
See, exactly. And so
Kayfabe,
it's
everyone.
so
Kayfabe.
it's so easy to do that. It's much harder to be you know, good guy baby face and I'm still doing it for everybody. I'm still doing it for my family, still doing it for Jesus, still doing it for all the fans out there. It's harder to do that when after all the bad things that happen to you and you're just like, "You know what? Screw this. I'm going to punch you all in the mouth and then I'm going to do what the hell I want to do because I can."
Because it's fun.
Exactly. So yes.
But no, I agree. And I think I will say, I admit that I am completely blinded by my love for Chad Gable. 100%. Like, I always have been, ever since his debut match, where he wasn't supposed to be a thing and became a thing in my eyes. But I think their segments together are getting better and better. I really do. I feel like he and Jason Jordan have kind of a thing going, and I feel like they're still pretty scripted. And I think that's probably why they come across as kind of stilted to you, because they're still very scripted and they're still very like, yep, I have my line, you have your line. But I think the script is getting better because I think that they're writing the script together better. And I mean, things like referencing the world's greatest tag team and then like one interjecting and being like, no, you can't say that. And then him being like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I can't. That's right. That's my bad. Whatever. Um, I don't know. I like the interplay because we've seen Jason Jordan and Chad Gable go from Chad Gable is stalking Jason Jordan because that's what it started as. Chad Gable was stalking Jason Jordan. There's no other explanation for that because Jason Jordan had decided he didn't want to be in a tag team and turned on Ty Dillinger, but then 2 weeks later or whatever, he was like, so tag teams are the best. I need a tag team partner. And teamed with some losers, kind of Cody Rhodes style. And then Chad Gable was like, be my partner. I should be your partner. And Jason Jordan was like, fuck you, Chad Gable. And then Chad Gable was like, no, seriously, I'm the best idea for your partner. And Jason Jordan was like, no, I'd rather team with Marcus Louis or Sylvester LaForge. Like, no, that's a bad plan. Why wouldn't you team with Chad Gable? Best guy ever. So that's the way this all started, which you probably don't know, because I don't know if I've even explained this to you. But they've kind of come leaps and bounds from there, from stalker stalky to no, it kind of works. Like when, and I'll get to the point of this segment in a minute. Like I know I'm kind of taking a while to talk about it, but I just love them so much. But at the end of the segment, when Chad Gable says, you know, like, come on back if you're ready, and then he's like to Jason Jordan, yeah, you say it, you say the next part, and Jason Jordan doesn't even hesitate. He's like, willing. And Chad Gable's like, yeah. And Gable. And they're working together finally, and I love that. But the actual point of this segment that we haven't actually mentioned yet is so cool because they want to earn the respect, right? Like, they want to earn the respect of the NXT universe, probably. Like, I don't know if they actually said those words, but that's the implication, and everything's a universe apparently in WWE, so NXT has its own universe, and I don't know if there are any crossovers, but I'm curious to know how they deal with that in like off comic specials. But they're gonna fight the Ascension. Oh my freaking goodness, the Ascension are coming back. So Jason Jordan thinks that they need to challenge the greatest tag team in the history of NXT. And at this point, I think I typed to you last week, and I thought this week in my head, oh my goodness, the Ascension are going to be coming back. They're going to fight the Ascension because they're the most dominant tag team in the history of dominance. And they actually reference the most dominant tag team in the history of NXT, right? And I'm getting so excited about this. And people who have listened to the NXT rundown since, you know, our beginnings on VIP, and since Bob and I were doing the show, and since the Ascension were in NXT, will know that I hated the Ascension, and I had Ascension blindness, and I didn't understand why they were a thing, and I just wanted them to go away. And I said go away for so long, and I wanted them to go to the main roster, and I never wanted to hear from them again. And now it's become a thing where the Ascension went to the main roster, and they were so shite. And I was okay with that because they were so shite in NXT, and they were the tag team champions forever. It was like 345 days or something. And I don't know, something about it, like something about when they came back recently. And I think you and I recorded a show about this. We've been recording a lot of shows lately. But when the Ascension were on the show and the crowd got to chant "Yah" at Connor, and it was just so lovely. And it's like this homecoming, right? Like, even if it's someone that we don't love a whole lot, when they come home, it's a thing. Like, the Ascension coming home is a thing, and I really appreciated that Jason Jordan and Chad Gable said, you know, they're the most dominant the most dominant tag team in the history of NXT, and they kept referencing them coming back. They're like, so come back home and, you know, watch us as we ascend. And Chad Gable's like, see what I did there? You know, ascend, ascension, ha ha ha. And that's part of what I love about Chad Gable and Jason Jordan is that they're such dorks, right? Because I'm completely a dork, and I totally go for that. But the idea of the Ascension coming back, as soon as they mentioned the greatest tag team in NXT history, I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to be the Ascension. And I think I typed that to you, and I was like, it's going to be the Ascension. And you were like, you hate the Ascension. I was like, yeah, I know, but I'm so excited about the Ascension. And I'm really excited about the Ascension coming back to fight Jason Jordan and Chad Gable, because I think it could be really, really good. In that Jason Jordan and Chad Gable are really, really good, and the Ascension are so shite, but they're so funny now. And I'm really excited.
I am glad you're excited because, yes.
So that's my thing. That's my thing, basically. I won't expect you to be excited or to even really respond to that because I know that you're going to be like, yeah, the Ascension are shite. What's your problem? But after that, we got Bull Dempsey versus Angelo Dawkins. Have you seen Bull Dempsey yet?
Yes.
Yeah, you have.
Mm-hmm.
He's bullfit, basically.
There's that, I guess.
That's a thing. I still love bullfit, don't get me wrong. I do. I think it's hilarious. Give me a 80s/90s montage video and I will be happy for a very long time. And I'm fine with it. Like, I'm fine with people being a catchphrase because during this match I was kind of like, no, he is kind of just a catchphrase, right? Like, Mr. Sondra was pretty annoyed a few weeks back that bullfit was just bullfit. And he didn't like that the crowd was just chanting bullfit and that that was his only thing and that it was, all there was to him, and he thought the crowd was just being annoying. And I was like, yeah, I think he might be right. I think he's just a catchphrase, and maybe that should annoy me. And then I realized that Ty Dillinger being a perfect 10 is just a catchphrase, and also, like, raising his hands over his head in a 10 fashion. And I'm still completely in love with that, so I'm not willing to discount Bull on basis of just being a catchphrase, because I love catchphrases. Because I love catchphrases. But there's really not that much to it, and I would like to see progression. I did like him coming out and then, like, putting his arm around a guy in the front row that had a Bullfit t-shirt on and being like, yeah, Bullfit works, this guy knows, like, da-da-da-da. It's like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. And then as the crowd was chanting, Bull fit, he pointed to his stomach and then his back and then his stomach and his back, and he was turning around to the camera, and commentary mentioned how he was going to be dizzy. And that's kind of the most exciting things I have to say about this match. Other than Angelo Dawkins was in singles action again, which is a thing. Sawyer Fulton still accompanied him, which is also a thing. So Shoot Nation was having dissension, so that's what this is stirring up, as Angelo Dawkins does stirring motions to go to the ring because he's whipping up greatness, apparently. I don't know. I prefer
That's
Angelo
horrible.
Dawkins in headbands to his glasses and backpack look, but there wasn't that much to this.
There wasn't, and it was just not good. It should have been over before it started.
Yeah.
I don't care for. I mean, Bull Dempsey's all right as a character, but wrestling wise, he's kind of eh. His finisher is really eh.
It's called I
The
Will
gimmick
Sit on
is,
You.
and his opponent was even more meh.
It's not great. It's not great. I
No,
mean, the main point of this, which I can't believe is the main point of this because this is like less important than when Jason Jordan and Ty Dillinger broke up, but it seems like the main point of this was to have Angelo Dawkins lose and then Sawyer Fulton walked up the ramp angrily because he was annoyed about Angelo Dawkins losing, but nobody cares about Shoot Nation. Like, nobody cares at all. They've not been on TV as a team as much as Jason Jordan and Ty Dillinger were on TV as a team. Like, Jordan and Dillinger were more of a team than Sawyer Fulton and Angelo Dawkins, and I could be wrong about that, but I don't know. It's just going that way, and I don't think anyone else cares, and I probably care more than, like, most of the population because I actually know who these people are, and I still don't care very much, so that's not good. But we'll see where it goes, I guess. I mean, it looks like they want to push Sawyer Fulton, maybe, because he's the one turning on Angelo, and for a minute they wanted Jason Jordan to be the big thing over Ty Dillinger. I don't know. I just don't know. But we'll see where it goes. I mean, Bull Dempsey just needs to learn to punch better, right?
among other things, yes.
Among other things, yeah. So after that, Tom Phillips interviewed the vaudevillains. He still had the wheelchair there, backstage, the one that said vaudevillain, singular. And Aiden English said, leave it to leave it to two sophomoric roughnecks to add insult to injury and take a cheap shot. And Simon Gotch said something about being a gentleman has worked out very well for Aiden and myself, and they gave a very eloquent promo, and I love them because I always love them, because of course I do. And Tom Phillips basically asked them about the insult at the hands of the mechanics, and I don't know, it was basically like, we are tag team champions. We will continue to be tag team champions. Also, we are gentlemen. Also, at one point, I think it was Aiden says, "Excuse me, Tom," indubitably, and then like shoves the wheelchair off stage and into something on the set, so it makes a crash noise, and that was cool. And I do still love the Vaudevillains. I'd sort of forgotten, and I feel kind of bad for them because they won the titles at TakeOver, and then immediately the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Tournament of Doom started. So they haven't really gotten to do anything because the entire show was tag teams for a very long time, and they didn't get to have anything to do with that really because they got out in round 2, I want to say.
Something
And
like that.
I'm glad that they weren't involved in the finals or whatever, because then it would be like the tag team champs got trounced by, team that was put together that isn't actually a tag team champion. And Robert and Kenny and I talked about that in our TakeOver Respect rundown, so you can scroll down on YouTube and see that. But I don't know, I feel bad for them because as champions, they've barely even gotten to be on TV. So I don't know. You don't have as much experience with NXT. What do you think of the Vaudevillains and their current tag team run? I guess has it sort of gone?
I appreciate the Vaudevillains. As far as what they are, as far as their tag team run goes, I mean, they've kind of gotten shafted because they haven't been on TV wrestling very much, and that's kind of the point. And,
Right.
you know, I'm willing to bet that those guys want to be there to wrestle, not be there just to say, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
So,
And they're good at wrestling.
yes.
You've seen them
I may
wrestle,
not,
so, you know.
I have. I may not really like them all that much, but they are good at what they do. Um,
Well, they probably smile too much for you.
no, I think I just don't like their style of wrestling, but it's not bad. It's just not my style, which we've had that conversation
Yeah, that's
before.
fair.
So
Yeah, I mean,
it's not bad.
they just they haven't really gotten a chance to even be champions, I guess is my thing. And so
I will agree with that.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's unfortunate, and I feel like they've really gotten overshadowed when most of the shows for the past like over a month, couple months really at this point have been focused on tag teams, and the tag team champions were not a part of it. Like their tag team matches were on live events, and we saw clips of them getting beaten by the Mechanics, which does set up the match between the Mechanics and the Vaudevillains. It makes sense that they beat the tag team champions, so they should get a championship match. I don't know. I really do like the Vaudevillains, and I kind of remembered in the segment that I actually do really like the Vaudevillains. Because as much as I love the Mechanics and as much as I love Jason Jordan and Chad Gable, they are probably my two favorite tag teams. I still really do love the Vaudevillains. I mean, the Vaudevillain shirt was the first it was the first NXT shirt that I bought. It was the first wrestling shirt I bought. It was the Vaudevillains of Bray Wyatt, and the Bray Wyatt one was super clearance, and the Vaudevillains one wasn't. So there's that to consider. And I don't know, I really love their gimmick, and I really love mostly everything about them. But after that interview, Apollo Crews shares a meaningful glance with the NXT belt in the locker room. So they stare at one another. It's very intense. And then Tom Phillips interviews Bayley about the mixed tag that's going to happen next week. And do you want to tell the people what happened? Because it's really, really sad.
The hype bros came out and ruined
Life.
everything. Um, I don't fully understand why they stuck Bayley with those guys. I mean, yeah, uh, yeah.
The problem is that I understand it completely, and I also hate it completely. So I have two parts of my brain fighting against one another right now. There's one part of my brain that hates Mojo Rawley so completely. So completely, because he's so terrible, right? Like, he's so bad. The reason it makes sense is that Bayley was a super wrestling fan, and she was very ecstatic about things, and she was over enthusiastic about everything. You could say that she was hype for wrestling and wrestlers and anyone who was a wrestler or in wrestling. She was basically a super marquette like me, right? But she would get really, 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 really excited about wrestlers and any of their catchphrases and just getting to be around them. And my brain was fighting with itself during the segment because Bayley was exhibiting all of the traits of old Bayley. She was smiling and being like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about every single thing that's happening, and I'm gonna grin, and I'm gonna be so excited because, yeah, like, they're my partners. And I feel like Bayley, the character currently, like, Bayley's still going to be pretty excited that people want to team with her because no one has ever wanted to team with Bayley. No one has ever been nice to Bayley. No one has ever done that because people are awful, basically, in life, is what I've learned from wrestling. And so, at least wrestling according to Bayley and John Cena because he's awful, but whatever. No one has ever really been that nice to Bayley, and so whenever she finds a teammate, she's going to be really, really excited. And it makes total sense that she would be paired with guys who are just super excited to be here, right? Because she's super excited to be here. And on one hand, I'm really, really glad that Bayley has managed to retain that joy within herself, despite all of the trials that she's faced at the hands of the BFFs at Team Bay, which is super hard for me to say still, but BAE, best at everything, Sasha and Becky. At the hands of Charlotte, at the hands of everybody, right? Like, everyone's been against Bayley. Everyone's always been against Bayley, and she has managed to rise above that, and she has managed to transcend all of that terribleness and make this beautiful, beautiful thing that is the NXT Women's Championship mean so much to everyone in the entire world, right? Like, she means so much to little girls who want to overcome things. She means so much to me. She means so much to standard adult male wrestling fans, right? Like, she means so much to everyone, and she's so excited about that, and at her heart, she's still just a little wrestling fan who wants to be included, and that's so cool. And if it were anyone but Mojo Rawley, I would be so in favor of this, but Mojo Rawley is so terrible, and that's what makes it so difficult for me.
I understand that. I have really disliked everything I've seen Mojo Rawley do, which isn't much, but which I am grateful for because, yeah,
He's
but
so bad.
this is true.
Yeah. I mean, there was something really endearing about Bayley at the end of the segment going, woo, woo, woo. And I was like, yeah, because he's a wrestler who's been around for a while and you love his catchphrase because you love all of the catchphrases. And that's, oh my goodness, my brain is just hurting with these contradictions going on within it. I do still kind of have a soft spot for Zack Ryder also. It's really Mojo that's the problem here. And Mojo was the one who was like, yeah, I'm going to stick my arm around you, Bayley. And I'm going to be all like, yeah, Bayley, yeah. And so I cannot abide Mojo Rawley. And that makes this very difficult. And I will be watching this week's NXT very soon. And I know that I will have to see him wrestling. And it makes me sad. But I will overcome.
Good.
Yep, that'll be a thing that happens. So speaking of awful people, Eva Marie exists, basically. Yeah. So Eva Marie fights Gionna Daddio. Now, her name at this point in time was Marley. They had decided that her wrestling name was going to be Marley. And they had announced this, I think, at some point. I don't know. I saw it on news feeds. I couldn't remember what her name was supposed to be, but the crowd was chanting Marley, and so I looked it up, and it was Marley. But apparently since then, also according to news feeds, they're not going by the name Marley, and they're calling her Gionna Daddio at live events again, so I don't really understand this. That was the most important thing I took from this match. I believe what I said to you, and I don't have it in front of me because I definitely lost my spot in my notes, but I believe I was like, wait, what? Gionna Daddio? I'm so excited! Like, or whatever her name is now. Yeah, her. I'm excited to see her wrestle. Oh, Eva Marie's here. Fuck.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah, so do you have anything to say about this match?
It happened, and if anyone hasn't seen it, save those few minutes of your life for something else.
Yeah, just probably don't watch this. It's not very good.
No.
Gionna Daddio, who I would call Marley because that was supposed to be her name, but apparently it's not anymore. But, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right either. Like, Gionna is how I would pronounce Gionna. Gionna, I don't know. But she's basically leading this match. And I asked you tonight, I was like, am I wrong? Because I see her leading this match.
And she was. It was pretty obvious that she was leading the match. I mean, what do we think? Eva Marie's gonna lead the match? Are you kidding? That's
Right?
not gonna be a match. It's gonna be a crime against
And
humanity.
the thing with Gionna is that she's not a super indie wrestler that's come in, right? Like she's never been on TV before. She was the one who at a takeover was a crazed fan who jumped onto Tyler Breeze. I can't remember which takeover this was because my memory is not great right now, and I know that I'm the one that should remember all of the things, but I can't remember which one specifically it was. But it was when he had an entrance and a crazed fan jumped onto him from the crowd and they had to like restrain her or whatever. That was Gionna Daddio. And I thought it might have been
Mm.
Dana Brooke at the time because it was a blonde girl and my resolution wasn't great on the screen. But that's the only time we've seen her on NXT TV. She's been on live events and stuff, but she's never been on NXT TV before, and she's been in the system for a while. She's not like an indie talent that they brought in from Shimmer because they were there. It's not Kaylee Ray. It's not Evie. It's not one of those situations. It's a girl who's been in the system for a while, whose name we don't really know because you've not decided on it yet.
Right.
And she's leading the match against your stalwart of the division, who you want to build a division around, and it's just like, what even?
Atrocious.
It's atrocious. Like that.
It's a great word for that.
What even, like, was it supposed to be like a clothesline or a boot or something that led into her weird-ish DDT wannabe thing? I mean, the Full Sail crowd was chanting, "What was that? What was that? What was?" I didn't know what it was. I had to rewind, and still, clearly, I can't remember.
Well, clearly we couldn't actually see what it was. It was a thing, not a good thing. Um, Whatever it was led her into a baseball slide into a DDT, which shouldn't be a thing because you have zero. I mean, okay, you're baseball sliding, so you're already on the mat basically, and you're gonna DDT someone that's like you're bumping their head. That's not even a move.
It's like
That's
nothing. It's funny because I'm actually like comparing our Facebook conversations from last week and tonight. And last week I asked, Indeed, what was that? Like to the crowd. And then I was like, really? Really, Eva? I missed the actual finisher. Did she just kick her or something? And you were like, no, I think it was like a DDT. Like, I think she slid into it or something. And tonight you were like, because I was like, what? Was it just a boot? Is that what happened? And you were like, no, I think it was a baseball slide into a DDT. So we had the same conversation a week
and I
ago
still couldn't figure
as
out
we had
exactly what this
tonight.
atrocious
And
abomination
I
was.
didn't know, and I didn't even remember what we had talked about before.
It's because we try to block out the horrible things in
That's
life.
real true. It was bad. The moral of the story is
Yeah.
that it was bad, and I don't know. I fear. I fear. But I'm glad that they're not trying to make her like the number one contender of the world, as was the plan for a little while, because that would not be so good.
No.
No. But after Eva Marie beats Marley slash Gionna Daddio with whatever the fuck it was she used as a finisher, Tom Phillips interviews Emma and Dana Brooke, and I loved this. I know that you didn't. What were your impressions of Emma and Dana Brooke here?
It was very stale. It was very flat. It was very scripted. And that's okay. It can be scripted, but they just need to deliver the lines better. Um, you can take some of that scripted and make it your own to a point. I'm not saying take it and completely rewrite it and say, no, screw you, this is better. But make it your own to a point. Um, you know, as long as you're not making yourself sound like an idiot, there's no problem with making it your own.
Right.
And they didn't do that.
See,
They just read the lines and that was the end of it.
yeah, I can see that. I kind of feel like they are kind of making it their own thing, even though it does sound very scripted. But I feel like Dana's awfulness is kind of on purpose at this point, and that's what I love about it. Um, I mean, the main point of this was that Emma's not scared of Asuka. Um, and I think my favorite part of this was that Emma said, I don't appreciate her being up in my face smiling like she does. And I think I said to you, oh, Emma doesn't like smiling either. You should love Emma even more.
I
But
am a fan of Emma.
I know. And as am I, clearly. You've all heard my phone ring at inopportune times during the podcast and heard her theme play, because that's a thing that happens. But I don't know. I kind of love it. I love that Dana Brooke is so shite, but it's so on purpose. Like, she's saying, and when she patted me on my head, can you say childish? And I'll probably just insert the promo because I've taken to inserting Dana Brooke promos into my shows. It's kind of awesome. But Emma basically says, because Dana says she'd love the opportunity to face Asuka again, and Emma's like, well, you're gonna have to wait your turn, basically, because I'm gonna face Asuka, and it's gonna be great. And it was great. I don't know. I love this promo. I think it's kind of amazing. And if we get Emma versus Asuka on my birthday at TakeOver London, or TakeOver, are they calling it TakeOver London? I don't remember. But whatever. Like, if that happens, I'll be a very excited Sondra.
Well, I hope it does happen because that would be cool.
That would be very cool. So after Emma and Dana talk to Tom Phillips, we see Finn Bálor putting on his jacket, because the Finns is totally a thing. If you listen to the TakeOver Respect NXT rundown / Yellow Ropes Forever / whatever, he's totally the Finns, and it's awesome. But after that, we do see Finn Bálor versus Apollo Crews. Now, I thought this match was good. This might be one of my favorite Finn Bálor matches that we've ever seen in NXT, because it seemed to matter more than a lot of other Finn Bálor matches that we've seen. And also, I don't know, it didn't seem like Finn just against someone who was going to obviously lose. Like, I mean, I knew that Apollo wasn't going to win the title, but I also knew, like, okay, they've actually been building this guy up, and maybe a thing could happen, and I don't really know. And I thought it was pretty good. It's not necessarily still my style of wrestling, because it was still kind of quick, and it was still kind of like spot, spot, spot. But it seemed to tell a little bit more of a story. I think I liked Apollo Crews versus Tyler Breeze better, but that's not entirely shocking given how uninvested I've been in the main event scene. I don't know. What did you think of this?
Um, it was okay. Um, it was kind of spotty, and I realized that Apollo Crews is a spot wrestler, and that is what it is. But um, I was hoping for more of a match and not just spot, 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 spot. Okay, now spot, spot, spot. Now more spot. Now more spot. And to a point, we got match, but I mean, there was also a lot of just random. I'm going to do this because it looks good and not because it tells the story.
Yeah. I mean, I think my
I
favorite
mean,
thing about it was that Finn Balor played the edgier baby face, I'll say. Like, if you're having a baby versus baby match, Finn was the heel here.
yes.
And I liked that one of them was the heel here. And I liked that it was Finn Balor, because I think that might be why it was my favorite Finn Balor match. Or not, I won't say my favorite. I don't think it was my favorite. But one of my favorite Finn Balor matches that I've seen in NXT, because I think that him being aggressive like this and him being kind of the heelish person, I think it works really well. And I kind of understand what people have told me. Like, Bob was always like, why is Finn Balor a babyface? He's such a good heel, right? And other people have said Finn Balor needs to turn heel. And I've kind of maintained, no, Samoa Joe needs to turn heel. More on that in a minute. But I really did like seeing that aggression in him. And it, again, his title reign really reminds me a lot of Adrian Neville's, in that Adrian Neville didn't really seem like a champion to me for a while, because he seemed like a guy who kind of won it because Bo Dallas was leaving, and Finn Balor kind of won it because Hideo Itami was injured and Kevin Owens was, leaving, and that was a thing. But I'm trying to look at it as Finn Balor put on a jacket, and I really love his leather jacket. And I know this sounds super trite, but if you've listened to my shows before, you know that That's me. And maybe Finn Balor putting on the jacket was like, no, I can belong in NXT. Like, Jacket Finn Balor is all NXT, right? Like, other Finn Balor, even Demon Finn Balor, he was like above NXT. But I feel like Jacket Finn Balor could maybe be a part of NXT, and definitely costume changes can make me like wrestlers better. So I'm willing to go with it because I really, really want to like the NXT champion. But what happened after the match, and the match had plenty of good things in it. It was really good. I really liked the kick counters and like, you know, rolling through moves and then countering into drop kicks, or like a kick into Finn Balor wobbling and then doing a Pele kick to put them both down. I love that kind of stuff, right? But the thing I love most about the match is that we didn't get a definitive conclusion. We didn't get Apollo Crews just beaten so that there's no reason for another match. We didn't get Finn Balor beaten so that Apollo Crews was the champion for reasons. Baron Corbin, of all people, Baron Corbin came out and interrupted the match and, first of all, just hit Apollo with a clothesline-ish, and then attacked Finn Balor for a second, but then attacked Apollo Crews some more on the outside. So Baron Corbin managed to interrupt a match that I was invested in. I was, admittedly. And, you know, the most invested I've been in Apollo Crews or Finn Balor in a lot of ways. And Baron Corbin ruined it. So it was like, boo, Baron Corbin, I hate you because you're up. But now I'm hating you kind of in the right way. So that's probably a good thing, actually. And Baron Corbin ruined our fun. So Baron Corbin did something interesting for once, and that was good. And I've been actually sort of praising Baron Corbin a little bit for his matches lately because he's shown some improvement, kind of like Cameron. We thought it was hopeless. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Like, he's still not very good, but he's at least being a proper dickhole, right?
Mm, he's getting there.
He's getting there.
He's getting there. I still don't like him. I I don't know. He's uninteresting, and that is one of the worst things you can be being a professional wrestler. You have to be interesting, whether it's good interesting or bad interesting. You have to be interesting. And I see Baron Corbin as like a lump of gray clay that just sits there and exists because it does, instead of,
Yeah.
something that's interesting and makes a difference in wrestling.
That's kind of how I've seen Baron Corbin for a very, very long time. Just like, you're there. You're taking up space. You're waiting for public transportation. You need to
Yes,
not be doing that on my television. Um,
right.
I don't know. I feel like I see him getting kind of better a little. And some of that is perspective at having seen Baron Corbin for so, so long. And finally he's doing something. I want him to be better because they seem to really, really like him. And if he's going to be on my TV, I want it to at least be entertaining. So that would be good. But that wasn't the only thing that happened at the end of this match. Samoa Joe came out theoretically to run off Baron Corbin because supporting his tag team partner Finn Balor, even though they're not really tag team partners, and even though there was kind of dissension teased already in their tag team. So you could say that this was kind of telegraphed, but it really wasn't for me. Samoa Joe came out to run off Baron Corbin or whatever, but then he turned and attacked Finn Balor. So finally,
Right.
Samoa Joe turned, and this is what I've been waiting for ages, for so many ages, it seems, even though he hasn't been around that long, but it still seems like ages because I've been so bored by Samoa Joe. And I was really, really excited that he finally turned on Finn Balor and that we're finally getting a thing because something is happening. Now, I know that you're not a Samoa Joe fan.
No, not at all.
So, what did you think when Samoa Joe turned on Finn Balor here? Were you excited? Were you like, oh, fucking hell? Like, I don't know. What was your thought process?
It was pretty much the same thought process I have anytime that Samoa Joe's involved. It's kind of like, that's the thing, I guess. It's happening. Whatever.
It is happening. Um, and why exactly, like, because I know why I don't like Samoa Joe so much, because I'm kind of apathetic, because I don't really understand him very well. Like, I've seen some really good matches of his, but, like, I know that you don't like him very much. Like, is it just he's not your style, or is there something else?
People were shoving Samoa Joe down my throat, saying, basically saying, that this guy is better than anyone that you could like. So screw the people that you like, screw your heroes. You need to like this guy, and if you don't, then you're a piece of crap because you're a piece of crap.
I can understand
Not
that.
not telling me, not providing me with evidence. Well, this is why he's good. Oh, he's just good because I said he is, and your people suck because I say they do.
But no, Samoa Joe, finally, maybe he's doing something interesting, which would be good. Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor, I think, could be a good thing. It's making me slightly more invested in the title scene. Slightly. It still feels kind of above and beyond, or, well, to me, it feels outside of. Like, to most people, it would probably seem above and beyond the normal NXT scene. I mean, I'm getting more excited that Angelo Dawkins has a singles match than I am about Finn Balor versus Samoa Joe, and I'm not even lying about that. Like, I'm so entrenched in NXT minutia that I was like, wait, Angelo in singles action, what is happening? Ah, this is the right. So I don't know if that's a problem or not. It might just be my problem, and I'm fully willing to admit that. But we'll see what happens with it. I am really, really, really glad that we're getting a story though regarding the NXT title, and that Finn Balor versus Samoa Joe has something behind it, and that Finn Balor versus Apollo Crews wasn't like the takeover match that was gonna take over everything, I guess, because Finn Balor versus Apollo Crews ended up being a means to an end. And I'm okay with that because I feel like the end is going to be better than the means. And I think I said to you, like, oh, we're probably going to get a tag team match now or a fatal four way or something. And we'll see what happens. I don't know because I haven't watched this week's NXT yet. But at least it opens up story possibilities, right? Like, we could get Apollo Crews versus Baron Corbin because Apollo Crews has a right to be pissed at Baron Corbin for potentially ruining his opportunity to win the title. We have Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor, obviously, because Samoa Joe turned on Finn Balor, and that's the obvious story to tell. But there's also multiple things that can interplay within that. And so I'm really glad for the story possibility going forward. And I'm glad that I kind of like NXT again. I don't know. It seems like that tag team tournament was just sort of the death of my love of everything. But I'm glad that the death of my love of everything is dead now. So yeah, things are a little more positive. So I guess that's the show. Thank you for joining me again.
It was my pleasure.
I know it's late at night, so I appreciate you being willing to stay up and chat with me, even though this episode is super, super late. But it's been fun. I thought this episode was worth discussing. There was a lot of stuff that happened on it that was kind of significant, even though I probably played down the most significant thing. But I don't know. If you've listened to my show before this, you know that I get attached to different things than most of the world. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for being here with us. You can find us on social media. You can get in touch with us at Inside the Ropes, first of all. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/The Inside Network. If you're watching/listening to this, you know that we're on youtube.com/The Inside Network also. So tell your friends that I still exist, even though I'm not on Inside the Ropes VIP anymore. I still exist, and I'm actually available to hear for the world as a whole. So I'm not super sure how many people know that. So tell people, because that's cool, because I still like doing the show a lot, even though I missed some episodes. It's still really fun for me. I am on Twitter at SondraRuthRW. You, William, are on Twitter at WilliamStud1. So thank you again, everyone, for listening, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.